everyone. My name is Heather Markel, and welcome to another edition of the Inspired Nomads. Although this is a pandemic edition again, where I am talking to guests who were nomads but are now grounded on the experience that lies ahead of us, around us, present, past, and future. So I am again still in New Zealand, where actually we have just gone back into lockdown levels 2 and 3. And my guest today is Jessica Fradono, who you may recognize because I have interviewed her before, back when we were both nomads traveling in the world. So Jessica, can you just say hi again and let us know where you are right now?
Hi, I'm talking to you actually from Istanbul, Turkey.
Wow. Okay. Which I've seen pictures of and looks beautiful. So I totally want to go.
Yeah, it's a really
last we
interesting
spoke,
city.
you were in Asia, weren't you?
Yes, I think I was in Bali when we talked last time.
Can you sort of take us through, like, like me, you were comfortably traveling the world. I remember seeing pictures of you in Mexico and being like, oh, that looks so awesome. And then, things start grinding to a halt. Can you take us through, like, say, roughly like the last month up to the pandemic, where you were, how you got to Turkey and why you decided to go there?
Sure. So I left home in 2017, and for the first time, I made it back home for the holidays. So in December, I went home for the holidays, and then in January, I had a really exciting appointment because I was applying for my Italian citizenship to be recognized. So I had to be in Houston. So I stayed around Mexico. That was part of the reason why. I also had a friend there. So I stayed around close to the US for a couple of months. And then one of my old bosses and friends from when I worked in Coca-Cola, she got a job here in Istanbul, and she has 3 cats. So she said, hey, I don't want to put the cats into like a moving service, and it's like 1 person per cat. I have another friend. Would you be interested in helping me, move the cats to Istanbul? And then you can stay there for a while with me while I like get adjusted to the city. And because she knew I love Istanbul. I love Istanbul. It's a great city. And so I was like, yeah, that sounds great, because it would also get me closer to where I either wanted to go back to Asia or Europe. So it's like I was in the right place if I came to Istanbul. So we arrived here the 7th of March, I think it was. And 1 week later, the pandemic was declared. And funny part, we were living in like a small 1-bedroom apartment, 2 of us with 3 cats. And we were both working from home. And I was sleeping in a rollaway bed in the living room with the desk I was teaching from at the foot of my bed, basically.
Wow.
And then the apartment, they felt sorry for us. So they gave us a bigger 2-bedroom place. And then we were able to function better for a while there. So I've been here since the beginning of March. And it's now August, so 5 months. Yeah.
So when the pandemic happened and you kind of realized, there was a moment for all of us, right, where we had this narrow window of opportunity to bolt out and go back to America or stay put. What was your decision process there like? Why'd you decide on Turkey and not going back?
I just honestly, I really enjoy this lifestyle, and I wasn't ready to go back to the US. I was actually at that time a little bit afraid of going back there and getting stuck. Before I even had the insight that I have now, I realized that if I had gone back, I would have been stuck there. And I didn't really, I felt more comfortable trying to write it out here because I didn't even know what I would do if I went home. Like, I wouldn't want to live in my home because I was renting it out on Airbnb. So, which also I lost, a significant amount of money from the Airbnb situation, because I lost every reservation moving forward from the middle of March for the rest of the year. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't want to. And I had talked about it with a couple of friends. And of course they kept throwing it out there to me and pressuring me that that's what I should do. And I just said, I don't know. I didn't want to. My intuition told me that it wasn't the right thing for me to do. So.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting because I had some of that, but of course I'm from New York City, so which was the actual epicenter of the virus at the time. I had to make this choice. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I don't know how you found it. I found it like a very difficult choice, and I knew when I made it that I would likely be here for an extended period of time, but I just didn't
Same.
really think it would be this long.
Yeah,
So,
same. I mean, like I was getting weekly emails from the embassy with like, there's a flight. And then, there were some of the language was very strong. Like you're basically, in so many words, you're going to get stuck there. So either know that you're going to have to ride it out and stay there in Turkey for a while, or these are your last few chances to go home. And I mean, I definitely had moments of like fear because the wording in the email, like I said, some of them were
yeah.
like so strong. But I decided that I just didn't want to, I don't know. I was afraid to go back and get trapped in a situation that I wanted to keep moving as much as I could.
Yeah,
And I think in the beginning too, I wasn't as scared of the pandemic. It took me a few weeks to really like grasp because we weren't really seeing anything here so much.
yeah,
Like we were out and about the first week and everything was normal. And then all of a sudden, you know, the panic started happening a few weeks later.
right. And I feel like the word stuck is funny because I mean, it's my understanding that if we tried, probably we could find a flight home somewhere in the next 2 or 3 months. Like there's not a lot of flights, but they're out there. But they
Yeah.
cost, I mean, I paid $26 to get here using miles. And
Wow.
I was told that my return flight would be somewhere around $5,000.
Wow.
Um, so, it's expensive and, you're faced with like, well, what will my life be like now? And is it better? Am I better off staying put or better off going home? Is it the same for you? Like kind of like in theory, you probably could go home, but for obvious reasons, you've decided not to.
Well, Turkey is one of the 22 countries that Americans are allowed to travel to. So I think the flights are pretty open for us.
Okay.
I haven't even looked at flight prices recently, but I assume that they're not that far off of the normal prices because it's wide open for American tourists to come here, which, you know, is a little bit,
Okay.
guys, really be careful if you're traveling.
Yeah.
But I think like the fear for me it was more related to like the journey home, right? All the
Yep.
people and surfaces and things I would come in contact with on the way home. I just didn't feel like it was the responsible thing to do for myself and for other people because you can have the virus and not know that you have it. And so I think that was like just very scary for me. And also I thought a lot about it. And by the way, I've made the decision because I've sold my house in Austin last month.
Yep.
So I no
Congratulations.
longer have a home in the US. Everything I own is in a 5x5 storage with
Yeah.
extra room. I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
Maybe. But so now I would have to go back to really either a hotel or my family's house. And I just don't feel, I have no, I mean, I have no desire. I would like to see my family again for the holidays, but it's not a thing for me right now to live in the US again.
Yeah, I think that's funny. I also gave up my home. So we are truly nomadic.
Yeah,
So, what is home anyway at this point, except pretty much where we are?
that's right.
um,
Yeah.
so what's happening with your visa? Because obviously, in the normal world, we'd all be allowed basically 3 months in a country on average.
Yeah.
So what's going on there for you?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it depends on the country, but for Turkey, it's a 90-day, you get an e-visa for 90 days. And so my visa would have expired on June 4th. And I wrote multiple times to the US embassy in Turkey asking like, what are my options, and got really generic responses. And finally, I just decided like, I can't even remember what it was that triggered me, but I started reading about the residency options in Turkey, and realized that they have a short-term residency program that you can apply for. And it seemed that I would meet all the requirements of it, because you can apply under tourism for up to a year. And then again, you can reapply from certain countries. So like US is one of the countries that's allowed to reapply even after the year is up. So I put in my application. Luckily, you're supposed to put it in 2 weeks before your visa expires. And I put mine in May 10th. And then they were closed for a long time for the pandemic. So they got really backed up. And I got an email back at the end of June saying, okay, you have an appointment for August 10th, but they're not taking any face-to-face appointments because of the pandemic. So that basically meant I had to mail my documents in, and they were in the office June 26th, and today is August 11th? Oh, yesterday was my appointment. And I'm still waiting, and I've been calling and calling. And the stressful part of this is, because I applied, I automatically, my visa is extended. So I'm legally here in the country. That's the good part. I can carry around my application and show it if I were to get stopped. But they have, sort of a delicate process with, if they were to ask me for more information, and I have left Istanbul, which I'm about to do, by the way, then I'm in a bad spot because I need to get those documents to them that they need. And it may be hard if I'm not here in the city to bring them in. Because they do have one of the offices open for that kind of stuff. Yeah. Or if my card is issued and sent to me, I won't be there to receive it. So it's going to be stuck in La La Land. Okay. But I finally just made the decision that I'm leaving Istanbul for a while because it's summer and I want to get down to the coast before the weather changes. And so I made open reservation. I made 3 different reservations for 3 weeks. Starting on Sunday, I'm leaving, taking a bus for 12 hours.
Wow. Yay.
Yeah. But it's my second time. I've gone to another city called Izmir, which was about 8 hours on the bus. So I did 3 weeks there and came back. My friend had some N95 masks. So I do have an N95 mask that I can wear when I go on the bus, which makes me feel a little bit more comfortable.
What is Turkey like at this point with the virus in terms of protocol that you're supposed to follow?
Sure. So, I mean, it feels like 90% normal life here, which sometimes is a little bit scary to me, because when I'm always keeping an eye on the cases. And although our cases are not, horrible, they're 1,000 to 1,500 a day of new cases. And Istanbul is one of the hot spots of, it's nothing compared to 50,000, but yeah, I mean, Istanbul is one of the hotter spots. So I also, going to the coastline, it makes me feel like it might be a little less stressful. I mean, there's a mask mandate here, but to be honest, I see a lot of people not wearing it or wearing it on their chin or on it's a new thing here that people wear it on their elbows. It's really cute. Okay,
wow. That's I mean, and America's doing that too, and it's not helping them, so.
Yeah, and the other part is, from what I'm reading, that there's not, when people enter the country, they're not being tested. So, there's an option in the airport to be tested if you're going to a country that requires it, and it's a 2-hour situation for €15, which I think is amazing. But there's no quarantine process or
really?
No, for people arriving. And like I said, it's wide open here for tourists from pretty much anywhere in the world to come, including the US.
I wonder if part of the confusion and drama in the pandemic is just how differently each country seems to be handling it. And New Zealand, first off, they extended our visa. They auto-extended actually, I don't even have a visa. I have a tourist permission authorization or something. They extended those till the end of September for us.
That's
And
so
you know,
nice.
protocol here is that you have to quarantine, and if you don't, you're in serious shit. And you know, we've been open for I think roughly 102 days or something with no community transmission. So I mean, hugging, kissing. I've been doing Latin dance class, like, you know,
Yeah.
everything is like life as normal. And now, boom, um, only four new cases of community spread in Auckland, and they shut down the country. So, I mean, that's what you need to do. I'm really happy to be in a place that's taking it that seriously.
Yeah.
But, you know, the world has watched what happens when you do and don't do certain things. So I'm so surprised. I mean, I shouldn't be, right, watching America, but like, I'm still so surprised that like everyone has this opportunity to handle things better, and watch from other countries that seem to have done it better, and why they're not catching on. I just don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to capitalism and the economies. And I mean, like, to me, it's in the long run, you're doing more damage to your economy because you're prolonging the situation. But sometimes people are short-sighted and they don't see it that way. And I think, like, here, I would say, when I said to you, it's almost like back to normal life. I mean, I don't necessarily feel that way. I mean, one of the things that's been a struggle for me, and I don't know if we were going to talk about that, but is like, I'm a very outgoing person who likes to be outside exploring all the time and trying new
Yep.
restaurants and making friends. And I feel really uncomfortable about that right now. I am home 90% of the time, and I go out very selectively. Like, I had dinner last night with a girl. I'm still doing house sitting sometimes, and I house sat for a month, and I went and had dinner with her because I had borrowed some stuff that I borrowed a bag from her I had to return. But yeah, we went out to dinner last night, and I mean, there's my other friend that I came here with originally. We go out and have breakfast sometimes. We've done a couple of photo walks. You know, we're trying to like resume normal life, but there's still a fear that I have, and that, you know, that we have, that just doesn't allow us to and like, if I'm talking about the economy in that regard, I'm definitely not spending the same amount of money that I would normally spend as a tourist in a place, because I mean, I've gone from eating out all the time to cooking all the time, which, you know, I'm still buying
Yep.
groceries and stuff from the market, but I hardly ever leave the house. And so my activities have really shifted. And honestly, it's been a little bit difficult psychologically for me, because I'm a really I love the connections, and I miss making those connections, and it makes me value them even more. You know, when I go out to breakfast and get like really
Yep.
great service from someone, and they want to tell us all about the food and culture, and I get so excited learning those little things, and they've almost become like more valuable to me than ever before, because they're fewer and further between, you know? It's my favorite part of
I
traveling, the connections.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's one of the things I greatly miss is just the randomness of like going somewhere new, and there's something about like arriving to this new place. You're only going to be there maybe for a few weeks, maybe a month, and then all these new people that just, you know, I don't know how somehow we gravitate together, and I've met the most awesome people.
Yeah.
I greatly miss that. Like, um, you know, I happen to be really lucky. The town that I'm in seems to be a hub for people from all over the world. So I actually, like, in Latin dance class and other places, I've met like people from all over the place, which is cool. But generally speaking, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like I'm meeting fellow travelers from,
Yeah.
you know, like different walks of life. And yeah, and I agree. The whole I mean, that's a really interesting point, the whole extroversion thing, because I'm like you, I'm a huge extrovert. I love being around people. And sometimes I'm alarmed at how much time I'm spending alone and liking it. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, that's another thing. It's like I've had a hard time sort of breaking out of that habit, right? Like I'm like, well, I could go out today, but I'd rather just stay in, because now I've established this as a routine, right? Like, the
Yeah.
place I'm living in now, I'm just doing a favor for another expat that I met. I'm watching her house and her cats, and she has a pretty like a medium-sized vegetable garden. So it's a couple of hours of work every day, like watering the garden, but interesting to like learn a new skill. And I'm learning some things about we're growing like tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, watermelon, peppers. So it's kind of cool to have that experience. And I would say that, you know, the upside of the pandemic for me is I have become quite the chef again, you know, especially having, I had the roommate for a little while. So I had someone else to cook for besides just me, which made me more, you know, creative. And because it's just for yourself, you're like, I'll just throw a salad together with some tuna on it, you know, like,
Yeah.
So I was, you know, baking and cooking and every night new recipes and, you know, making tea.
I thank you. You sent me that Buddha bowl recipe. I just made it again last night. Love that.
With the peanut sauce. So good.
Yes. Oh my God. If anyone listening wants the Buddha bowl recipe, you'll get Jessica's information at the end. You have to ask her for it. It's so good.
So good.
Oh my God.
You can make it with whatever you have in the house too, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the other thing is like, hey, like single ladies, I mean, this is also such a weird time because, I mean, on the one hand, it's not safe to meet anyone. And on the other, I mean, I'm actually in a place where it is hypothetically safe or has been up until today or yesterday. So, but it feels like it's not. So like, you know, I mean, I don't know if you've been even bothering, like that's the other thing. I really haven't been bothering to look.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I'm not a dater anyway, so. And it's like, for me, no way. It's just it's not the country for that anyway.
Right.
Me. But I mean, being a single female solo traveler, I mean, I've had a couple of moments, just like, you know, cab driver asking me too many uncomfortable questions and things like that. I would guess that you're feeling less of that in New Zealand, but for the most part, I mean, I feel comfortable. It feels safe. And that's a good thing, but I'm definitely not, it's hard to even just like meet new people at all because I'm not out doing things that I would normally be doing. So
as you look at what's happening in America, like as an American, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are both on, you know, on America and also as you think one day maybe we'll go home, like what's your thinking?
I mean, it's been really hard to watch what's happening from afar because it's like, I don't agree with what's happening. And so I think that, you know, I love my country, but I don't like to see what's happening with my country right now. It's a little bit frightening for me. I feel that some of the civil liberties are being taken away and like we're putting focus on the wrong things, you know, like we should be focused on people and the health instead of like just our money and our economy. And I think, you know, some of the ethics that are being displayed are against my core values. And so it's been a bit of a struggle for me as an American. I had mentioned before that I'm in the process of getting my dual citizenship recognized in Italy. And you know, I'm not like at the point where I want to cut ties with the US, but I definitely think that for the next couple of years, I'm going to be focused on establishing a life in another country and see if I can make that work. My dream has always been, and it's becoming more, I say like I'm starting to think more about like details, which makes me think that it's coming more to fruition and like manifestation, is that I want to own a bed and breakfast. And I think we probably talked about that when I talked with you last time. And I actually have, when I can get to Italy, I have an informal apprenticeship lined up with a single woman who's running a small boutique hotel in Florence for the 3 months that I'm allowed to stay in Italy. She wants me to come and I have lots of ideas and she's open to the ideas. And I want to learn about owning a business in Italy. And she doesn't have as much hotel experience as I do. So it's going to be a nice like synergy sort of relationship. And yeah, I mean, that's with the citizenship and those opportunities, I'm going to be looking to probably purchase some property there and see if I can establish a life there and see if it's, if it works for me.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
While you're waiting, I'm curious, do you plan to vote, and have you tried to get an absentee ballot?
Yeah,
In the
so I have
presidential
my
election?
absentee ballot. I have it. I got it emailed to me, and so I just need to fill it out, and then I need to figure out how to get it home, how to get it back to
Wow,
the U.S.
because I've been trying to get an email ballot since June 24th and haven't.
Really?
So,
I did that like fvap.gov,
yep,
I think it was.
me too. And
I
no,
better double
didn't
check
work.
it. I have it printed, so I didn't actually just like, yeah, I think it's for the general election. Maybe it was for a primary or something, because I did it like a month ago.
Okay, yeah, I'm still trying, but
Yeah, I
you
would really
know,
like to vote.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
uh, so, I don't know if you heard this rumor. I just heard it this morning, and I asked somebody else who confirmed the rumor that it's a rumor. This is a rumor only at this point,
Yeah.
that America may ban American citizens from returning home. Have you heard that?
Yes, I actually read that somewhere, but only if they're suspected of having COVID, which I don't know how. I don't know how they would be suspected. And also, I don't know how we could do that considering we have the worst numbers in the world right now.
Right,
So
right. And
it might
so,
help our numbers if we let people from other countries in.
yeah, geez.
Sorry.
Uh,
Is that my out
yeah,
loud
no,
voice?
that was, yes, you said it out loud.
I did,
But
didn't I?
yeah, I mean, it just hit me today. I'm like, there is this possibility that we could find ourselves kicked out of the country we're in, unable to go back to America, and then what?
Well,
I
good
don't
news,
know.
Heather. There are 22 countries that are letting Americans in, Turkey being one of them. So you can come join me and hang out. We can hang out for a while. And
Well,
you
I
can
may have
apply
to.
relatively cheaply for a short-term residency for tourism. And hopefully you don't have to wait as long as I do. Because one thing I will say, it's been a pretty frustrating process for me here because Turkey, a little bit different maybe from some other countries, like relies a lot on that. When you're given residency, you're given a number, you're assigned a number, like we have social security numbers. And that number really allows you a lot of things. For instance, my local Turkish SIM card has been shut off because I don't have a number yet. And I understand that it's intended to curtail illegal immigration, right? But given the fact that we're in this scenario where they know they were closed for all these months and they're like so far behind, it seems unfair to shut off someone's phone. Luckily, I still have a service from the U.S., but it's not as reliable in the country. So sometimes I don't have phone service. And, just little things like getting grocery deliveries, and they're all tied. All this stuff is tied back to your like number. And there's so many things I'm restricted from doing. So it actually is affecting some of the aspects of my life, not having this number. It's not just like the wait is annoying, but also not being able to do some normal things that I want to do. And I've called multiple times. They have a 24/7 foreigner hotline here, which I think is really cool.
Wow.
But, they're kind of like, well, we know this is happening, but our hands are tied, because they have those
Yeah.
things in order to stop illegal immigration, which again, I understand, but if you're in this situation, make an exception.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So I know that you mentioned earlier, because I want to just switch into sort of the future of travel a bit. I know
Sure.
you mentioned you have this plan that you will, you're looking into your dual citizenship in Italy, and trying to make a life for yourself somewhere in Europe, probably. What's your thought on looking at the information you have today, like everyone else? Like, do you see yourself traveling again when it's possible?
Yeah. So even like Sunday, I'm getting on a bus for 12 hours to go to Fethiye, the Mediterranean coast down in southern Turkey. And I think, I've always been a slow traveler, but I think that what's happening with the pandemic is that it makes me want to be an even slower traveler. And for me, again, at this point, this is life. It's not, it's like, you know, you can call it travel, but it's not anymore. I don't even have a home in the US anymore. So like, this is my life. And so when I go and, for instance, when I went to Fethiye, I chose, instead of a hotel, I chose to get like an apartment hotel so that I have a washing machine and a kitchen and I can like, you know, have a normal like life there. And then for my birthday, I chose like the fancy, you know, up in the mountains with the
Of course.
infinity pool hotel.
Yeah.
No, I'm not cooking my own meals.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sort of sticking around that little area for 3 weeks. It, you know, all within an hour driving from each other, different beaches and then I'll decide from there what I'm going to do, depending on what's happening with my residency and all that. My plan is to try to get into the EU as soon as we're allowed to get into the EU. And for the first time in as long as I can remember, I'm relying on so many things that are outside of my control, you know? And I don't know if you feel this way too, but I think, you know, psychologically, I've been very up and down through this, if I'm honest. You know, I've had really good days and I've had really sad days and lonely days and what the hell am I doing days.
Yeah.
But I mean, right now I feel pretty okay. And I'm hopeful for the future, but it's like this weird feeling because we have zero control right now. Like you have your choices they used to be open and endless. And now there's like, you know, one or two things. When I think about if Turkey denies my I keep saying citizenship, but if Turkey denies my request for the short-term residency, which I was told it's not likely that they would, but if they did, I've, you know, already started thinking about like what my other options would be. Like Croatia is open for US people as well. But, you know, the problem is you have to have like an itinerary. You can't just like fly in and, hey, I'm coming for 3 months to Croatia. You have to actually have an itinerary. And they're part of the EU, but not part of Schengen. I was thinking maybe if I went to Croatia, I'd be able to maybe eventually get into Italy, but I don't. That's the other thing right now is even the woman that I'm going to visit in Florence, she keeps sending me stuff saying, no, Americans are coming into Germany. They're coming. I'm like, no, they must have some other like dual citizenship or be a partner to someone or something. Like it's not just random or a student, you know, it's not just like random people that are allowed to come in. And there's all this misinformation. We don't know, is it based on where you are? Is it based on your passport? Like no one knows, you know, you could get to the airport and think you know what's happening and they deny you getting on the plane, you know? And so it's like, for me, I don't like those. I want to feel a little bit more secure at this moment.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't we all?
I don't like the unknowns. I don't like the unknowns, but that's the world we live in right now. And it's teaching us all like valuable lessons, right? It's almost like we're closing our eyes and jumping and hoping that we land in some soft water or something, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I find it very uncomfortable, you know, like you're, you know, it's a good point, right? Like being a nomad is my life as well. And yet I can't really be one. Like for me, I've been like enjoying the changing countries at leisure and having the freedom to go where I want, when I want, and, you know, having a very restricted, you know, even though there are places I can go, it feels like I'm restricted. And, you know, I know we both want to go to South America. I want to go back to Africa. Yeah. Those are two parts of the world right now that probably are not good places to go, whether or not they would be open to us. And so that's the part I think you also have to
sorry, I was gonna say you also have to think about the fact that we could get stuck, you know, there again because we're going through other waves of the pandemic again, and you just don't know. And then you have to go through this process all over again of learning what are the policies of this country, how long am I going to be allowed to stay there, like what options do I have, or do I need to move, you know? to a different country. So I will say, so there's a couple of countries now that are doing nomad visas, you know. I think Georgia is one, and Estonia is one, or Barbados, maybe I read. So like there's a couple countries that are catering to people like us right now, but I think they want like longer term commitments, like 6 months or so. So
Right.
I mean, it is, and it's coming up to winter, and I'm not really into cold, so I think Georgia's probably not going to be
Barbados. Well, Barbados.
Yeah, Barbados. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to stay. I'm trying to stay over here in Europe for now.
Well, because I would imagine, in addition, you know, when you talk about potentially getting stuck anywhere else that we go, I don't know about you, but you know, when I think about that, I'm always like, well, wherever I go next. I mean, I'd actually love to go back to Southeast Asia, but I'm concerned about healthcare. So God
Go
forbid.
to Chiang Mai. Very good healthcare in Chiang Mai.
Been there, but yeah. So, but still, it's on my mind when I think about where would I go next. You know, what's the healthcare system like there?
Yeah, because if you get sick, what's gonna happen?
And it's, so there's two factors which are interesting, which I would never have thought of before this. One, is there good healthcare? And two, you know, what kind of country are you going to? Because, you know, if there's an epicenter situation, they have to choose who they save and who they don't. And if you're not a national of the country, you could understand that you might not get priority in the choosing. And that is a horrible thing that you have to think about as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's like you, I've had definitely learning a lot, range of experiences, and you know, I'm very hopeful. Like I definitely want to travel again. I'm waiting, you know, I'm very excited for that to happen again. And I'm hoping that, you know, we can all help the travel industry and maybe be at the forefront of taking those trips and hopefully be able to do it safely. So, but yeah, so any other comments on like the future of travel and your point of view?
I mean, I just think something that I've thought about a lot is, you know, you and I, and a lot of people like in our scenario, we've given up a lot of our old lifestyles for freedom, right? And like having the freedom taken away from us right now, and not like purposefully, it's just like by the nature of what's happening. I know it's been really hard on my psyche. I'm sure yours too. And I just like, I definitely, I'm nervous, but I'm also, I feel like I can't stay in the bunker, you know, I have to start to safely and carefully and cautiously move again, because it's not good for me emotionally to just sit in an apartment all day and look outside. Like I need to, but I'm, like I said, I want to stay longer. I'm being more cautious. But I think it's like it's a slower, more thought. There's more thought that goes into it, more research, but I definitely plan to move as soon as I can. But my plan is to wait for Europe to open to me.
Yeah.
If I can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I agree with you completely on the, you know, the days that have been the hardest for me are those days that I get stuck in the thoughts about, oh, wow, I gave up everything. I completely transformed my life to make my life exactly what I wanted. And I made it exactly what I wanted. And then boom, now I can't have what I want again. And like you said, not intentionally. So, you know, those are the sad days, but then I try to remember, you know, there's so much value though that comes from reflecting on all of the work I did to get to where I am, and, you know, where I can go next in, you know, and what I can do and how I can help people during this moment. So it's not all bad, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I had a really good conversation last night with the girl that I had house sat for. We went to dinner, and we were talking about, you know, like the lifestyle that we had that lived in the US, and like how materialism is sort of the king, right? And like how we were taught that the more we had, the better we were, and the harder we worked, the better we were. And like getting out into the world and seeing other cultures, how they're happy with less. And I think we both already had a little bit of an inkling of that. And then it sort of became more solidified, like the more we observed it in other cultures. But, she asked me, like, how do you feel? Like, what would be your adjective for that feeling? And I was like, most of the time I would say enlightened. There's a time or two where I go, man, I gave up all those things I owned. Was that stupid of me? But honestly, I think that even though we are having our moments now, because we've lost the things that we gave up, we've lost the thing that we gave up the things for, I still feel like it's a more enlightened way to live than to be bogged down with a bunch of things that if you honestly ask yourself, if you care about that BMW and you care about the 18,000 things in your kitchen, like, do you really care about that stuff? So,
good point.
I don't know.
So, Jessica, any final comments or points that you'd like to make about, life during the pandemic as a nomad?
Yeah, I think it's lovely that you started this group where we can also, there's some people that have decided to be abroad. It's been a nice, like, information sharing type of situation. So I like that. And I think, I don't know, I feel we're in a great spot. Like, if we can position ourselves properly, for like media and stuff like that. I've been thinking a lot more about trying to break into travel writing, because I think I would really enjoy it. And I think, we're in situations right now where we could be really helpful to some of those media outlets, because like, like for me, for instance, being in Turkey, a country that's allowing US people to come in. And I know when I think back to myself as an American, I never really, Turkey, like, it never crossed my mind to travel to Turkey, but Turkey's full of amazing landscapes and beaches and, Cappadocia, the balloons, and there's so much to do here. So anyway, I just, I think, like, shout out to the fellow travelers who have decided to keep going. And, if you're in the US, please be careful, like, wear your masks, like, stop making this political, because it's like the longer this is, you're screwing all of us over. Please stop. Yeah. Yeah. Like, the longer this goes on, the longer you're like prolonging your ability to have freedom and travel as well, right? Like,
well,
I don't know.
The other sad fact, actually, I'm about to publish a blog post all about these things, but is that behavior is actually being so noticed overseas that we are now the ones that people are afraid of. And in fact, I recently in a supermarket, when a woman learned I was American, like, she took a visible, huge step back from me and asked if I'm COVID free. So yeah, it's not just that you're ruining travel for the rest of us, but it's like for yourself, for the rest of us, but you're also like making us complete scapegoats and targets when we do travel. So that's the other thing. When you're allowed into the countries you're talking about, there is the possibility that you may be looked at with fear and find people backing away from you.
Yeah, I think, as Americans, we've enjoyed a nice position in travel. We've had one of the strongest passports, and we're welcome into most countries because the dollar is strong and people love our tourism money. And now, we are we are the pariahs, I would say. Like, we are the country that nobody wants. And, maybe there's a lot of Americans who don't understand I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, how important that is. Like the gravity of this, like how this is huge. And not only that, but all the stuff that's going on in the US, I don't know about you, but it used to be when I would travel, people would, oh, that's so cool, you're from the US. And now it's like this, either they laugh or they have fear, or they, like, I have people just basically they just cut me off. Oh, you're American? Okay, like I don't even want to have a relationship with you. I just assume that you're, you know, not.
I get more, I'm so sorry. You
Yes,
know,
there's a lot of pity.
like,
There's a
yeah,
lot of pity. And it's
yeah,
like, I think that spills over into a lot of areas, right? Like people don't have the same respect level for the country, that we don't have the same, I don't know, we don't have the same pull maybe as we used to have, and allies and partnerships. And so a lot of that is really scary to me too.
yeah.
That feeling. And a lot of people inside the country may not realize that, right? Like,
Right. I mean, I think if you don't travel outside of America, why would you even know any of this? So,
right.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
But I mean, I think
well,
we
just,
should start to travel again, but just slowly
yes,
and cautiously and carefully.
yeah, I agree. And I think those of us that are nomads, I think we all have the same feeling that we all, the travel industry is really, core of our hearts, and, we want
Yeah.
to help. And so, but with caution, obviously. So,
Sure.
Jessica, if somebody listening or watching wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Okay. I would say, because I do photography and I sell my work. I think the easiest, the most active where I am would be on Instagram, and that would be at the dish stance, DISHSTANCE, the distance. So it's
Perfect.
supposed to be food and travel. That was my initial, that was my initial hope for the account, which yeah, it still is. And there you can find my other links too. Like I have like Jessica Fradono photo where I sell my work and stuff. So all of that's linked together. And I would love to connect with fellow travelers, people who are just interested in seeing photos or that have questions about coming to Turkey. I'm happy to help anyone.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Jessica, for being a great guest a second time. I really appreciate
Yay.
it. For those that were listening, also, Jessica mentioned a Facebook group that I created. So if you're someone out there that is listening and are stuck in a country that's not your own, then please join us. I'll put the link to the Facebook group on the video. And if you are watching and you realize that you are a nomad that is grounded and you would like to share your story, please fill out a questionnaire at www.interviewquestionnaire.com. I would love to have you on the show. And for any questions or feedback or anything that you want to share, please contact me at heather@heathermarkel.com. Until next time, thank you so much for listening or watching another episode of the Inspired Nomads Pandemic Edition, and I will catch you on the next edition. Bye.